So, settling back into your meditation posture, however you like to sit, so that you're able to stay alert and still relax. And that kind of balance of being upright without being rigid. And you can close your eyes or just lower your gaze. Then you might find it helpful to do some intentional relaxation as you start the meditation. So, relaxing the jaw, muscles in the face, eyes, forehead, releasing the shoulders, softening the belly, just breathing deeply into the belly. So there's a sense of the body settling and becoming grounded, connected to the earth. Can you feel your whole body as a single object? Even as you sense the whole range of sensations from different areas of the body. And opening as well then to sound, just bringing mindfulness to any sounds in your environment or sounds in your own body. And just connecting with the breath, of feeling the breath at the nostrils, the air coming in and out. You can also focus on the breath at the belly or the chest if that's easier. Just feeling the movement We're not trying to have some special experience or control the breath. Just feeling it as it is. When we are present with the breath, and we are naturally then in the present moment, not off in our thinking, projecting. It's a very simple way to bring the attention into the present. You might make a soft mental note with the breath, just to help you to maintain that connection. You can note in, out if you're following the breath at the nostrils, or rising, falling if you're following the breath at the belly. It's natural for the mind to wander when we try to pay attention to the breath. And this isn't a mistake or flaw if your mind wanders, but part of the process of training the mind. So when we notice the mind has wandered, we acknowledge that and then gently come back and start again. we try to make a gentle effort to be present, a balance in just being relaxed but still engaged. And then we apply attention as well to anything that comes up strongly, that, that really draws us away from the breath. So, if some strong feeling or sensation, a loud sound, we'll let the attention move to that object of awareness. It's especially helpful to notice how it feels at the moment when you realize the mind is wandering, and to see the effect of the mind of desire or the mind of aversion. We're, we're learning something about the mind. Seeing the effects of our thoughts beyond just the words or images in the mind, but feeling the way our thoughts feel in the body. And then just landing again on the breath. All right. Welcome again. Just taking a look around to see who's here. Nice to see familiar faces. Nice to see new faces or names or whatever you're sharing. Let's see, where are we? I seem to have lost my page. Oh, that's step 5. That's not it. Here we go. So I thought, for those who haven't been here before, what we've been up to here for a year and several months is going through my book one breath at a time. But when we got to the end of step 9, I decided to branch out into my new book, which is a book of daily reflections, just called Buddhism and the 12 Steps Daily Reflections. And because that's the only book that I actually cover the so-called promises. So it's amazing. We've been doing this for the promises for several weeks, I think, and because there's a bunch of them. And I thought I would read through that section, that paragraph of the book again, just as a refresher. And again, this comes after step 9. Excuse me. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we've gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Then it says, are these extravagant promises? We think not. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. So we had one session on painstaking. I'm just reviewing for myself. I don't think we did anything about being amazed. We did have one on new freedom and another one on new happiness. We had one on not regretting the past. We had one on comprehending serenity and peace. We've had one on how our experience can benefit others. It's just interesting to me how many you can extract out of this. Uselessness and self-pity we covered. Losing interest in selfish things. I don't know that we made that a separate one, or self-seeking. And we did not do anything about our attitude and outlook upon life changing. So I don't know if we should have. Fear of people, we did, and fear of economic insecurity, we did. So now we will intuitively know how to handle situations which is to baffle us. So in the book of daily reflections with its lovely cover, which I will share with you, with the half Buddha, it's about half, well, it's about how enlightened I am, about half enlightened, but it's not better than nothing. This is from September 22nd, and it just is called Intuition. Intoxication blurs all the senses. We're in a fog, 2 steps away from reality, uncomprehending and thoughtless. Just giving up that behavior clears up our thinking. As we move through the steps, more and more obstructions are removed. Our anxiety and stress are reduced as we work step 3 and become more trusting. Defensiveness and shame fall away with steps 4 and 5. Underlying habits of negativity, judgment, anger, and depression begin to be uprooted as we engage steps 6 and 7. All of this brings more and more clarity to our thinking. Less caught in inner drama, our natural wisdom begins to shine through. While we still ask for feedback and guidance from sponsors and trusted friends, we aren't dependent upon those suggestions. We've learned to listen inside. Mindfulness, of course, is the art of listening inside and outside. As we deepen our meditation practice, we become attuned to the nuances of emotion, habitual thought patterns, biases, and preferences that appear in the mind. This understanding helps us to distinguish true wisdom from ego-driven beliefs. Now we aren't simply under the sway of our cravings, but can make sensible choices and clear decisions. Our recovery depends upon persistent efforts to maintain clarity. As addicts, it's easy for us to fall back into habits of anger, judgment, and craving. Intuitive wisdom isn't a given. It requires vigilance. A daily meditation practice is an important foundation for maintaining our most beneficial mind states. Today, reflect on your capacity for intuition. Do you trust your intuition? Could you cultivate deeper intuition? So as I was reading that, I was thinking this is providing a whole bunch of other promises that maybe that sort of suggests that all these things happen as we work through the steps. Um, but yeah, I mean, this has always been an important point for me, and I think it's founded first of all in the idea that uh, w- we have a natural wisdom within us, each of us, and that the problem mostly is that we cover it up. Certainly if you're intoxicated, you're covering it up. But even barring literal intoxication, you know, the Buddha talks about delusion, you know, about how we are, genetically and culturally conditioned to see the world uh, in a distorted way or in an inaccurate way, what's called wrong view. And then, besides that sort of basic condition, the mind, uh, our minds, sort of out of that delusion, create a lot of noise, you know, drama and and fantasy and you know just plans and all the stuff that shows up, memories and all of that noise blocks out that natural wisdom that's there, that natural capacity to just sort of, oh yeah, that's what I need to do, you know, or that sort of sense of a wise response in a situation. Um, so I think of the practice as a kind of, you know, cleaning off the windshield each day. As I said in this piece, it's not uh, it's not that we, at least most ordinary people, don't sort of just have this breakthrough where everything is clear from now on. It's more like we get moments of clarity and then we fall back. Just like in meditation, you have a moment of waking up and being clear, and then maybe you drift off again. So that's sort of how our lives work and how our minds work. And so the daily practice and certainly practicing at the beginning of the day is helpful, is kind of starting with that kind of clarity, or starting with at least an attempt to get to some level of clarity. And then, of course, trying to get back to that throughout the day with our daily mindfulness, with our daily effort. Um, it is really interesting when we start to have that sense of intuition, and this is, of course, talked about in the step 11 more explicitly, but it's suggested here in this promise. Um, there's a real joy that comes with that, with us, because that that wish that we all have the answers, or to know the what the next right thing is, or to just um, kn be able to sense what's a wise way of responding in a situation, and to start to have access to that is a real, it's a great feeling, uh, and I think it kind of goes with that feeling of new freedom and a new happiness, because it I think when we're caught in our addiction, we can't help but having these sort of blurry minds that can have a really hard time figuring things out, and a hard time understanding things. Uh, and especially if we get put under any pressure or stress, we have a really hard time responding skillfully and sort of not losing it, um, whether it's anger or uh, fear, that gets triggered when we're under pressure, that we don't have much sort of resilience when we're in that, uh, whether we're intoxicated or just living a life of addiction. Um, so this, I think, is one of the really. I think it's a promise that's quite visible. It's quite accessible. Sometimes we were talking about the economic insecurity promise, and the sort of like, that one's sort of a little harder to necessarily claim that that's always true, um, but to me, this idea that we would have a greater intuition, and I actually want to go back and look at the promise again. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. Yeah, I mean, it's such a, uh, you know, that is really the case, right? It's the delusion of intoxication, the delusion of addiction, just not knowing how to live. Uh, it's like, when we become addicts in a lot of ways as an attempt to solve something, right? To solve our incapacity to sort of be in the world, and to I think, I mean, I think of it as primarily our incapacity to manage our feelings about being alive, and the challenges of life. Um, but it's this attempt to solve things, but instead, of course, it makes things more complicated ultimately, and more problematic. And certainly, it becomes more difficult to make wise choices because you've already made an unwise choice. Um, yeah, and again, just to bring it back to the Dharma and Buddhism, um, well, the steps kind of lay the groundwork for this. Our mindfulness practice really brings this home. I think it makes it, really fulfills this promise, and makes the potential to fulfill this promise much more likely, because, uh, yeah, as I've said, like, the meditation itself really opens us up to being intuitive. It's quite striking. I'm sure many of you have had the experience of being in meditation and something that was troubling you just suddenly kind of the answer kind of comes to you, and it's not magic. It's just that the clarity that we need is available to us. Well, it's just a few words, a few thoughts, and be happy to hear any of your thoughts or questions or reflections. Finding my capacity to ramble on and on is somewhat weakened right now. I'm not sure why, but the last couple times I haven't been able to fill up the time, you know. But there's all you people here with all your wisdom, so I'm sure you can bring it, carry me a little bit here. Oh, I see a hand up. Joe, hi.
Hi. Took me a second to adjust my device.
Aha, there you are from last night. I thought that was you.
Yep. You said tonight, and you said last night as well, something that I think is, in my experience, strikes me as being true. Okay.
Good.
And that is, yeah, that is good. Um, it has to do with the fact that that this is a gradual process. It's a gradual process of, I've heard it's put in many different ways, purifying the mind.
Mhm.
But it's, but it strikes me that, well, Jack Kornfield put it nicely, I think. No such thing as enlightened retirement. I mean, it isn't like
Yeah.
you have this sudden blast and then, it's not like Christmas. Then will everything be different? My life will be changed. Um, and my personal background is one of being an adult child of an alcoholic and dysfunctional family.
Mhm.
And and so it's been and I first went to an ACA group back in like 1989, and it started me on a path to look at all that. Um, and I feel like over the years through meditation, but also contemplation, I think contemplation of what is really meant by some of these things, and and going back simply to look at things look at things over and over again. I mean, um, for example, the a little sheet of paper that we read, that had to do with common characteristics of people who were ACA.
Mhm.
Uh, First time we read it, I went, "Oh, a lot of those things really ring true." And then the next meeting, we read it again, and I went, "Again?" But really, that's what it is. It's again and again. It strikes me, and so I just really was struck last night um, by your willingness to sort of frame it that way. That it was a gradual process of contemplation and inspection and change, and
Yeah.
a continuing process. So that's just a reflection, I guess.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. That's great. Yeah, because I think there's always that wish that things are somehow life is going to get fixed, you know, something we're going to do something, and I think that I'll say maybe younger people or maybe more naive people, whatever, or hopeful people, I guess, maybe, kind of can come to a spiritual path and like really, you know, get very enthusiastic, and I'll see people who have just been, have been studying mindfulness for 2 months, and they're like, "My life is completely different now," and which is great. And yeah, not seeing that, yeah, that's you're having that moment now, and then life goes on and other challenges come. Uh, it's, uh, I mean, our conditioning is deep. When you read the Buddhist texts and at what the Buddha went through to attain his awakening, kind of like, whoa, that's a lot, and supposedly it was many lifetimes. But in any case, I mean, I think that that's not if you don't want to get caught up in that, right? In that, like, oh, I've got to get fixed, or it's not working. It's like, no, 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 no. The Four Noble Truths, the truth of suffering, that truth of impermanence, all these things are continuous, and it's all about living day by day. That's one of the reasons why one day at a time is such a great expression. It really implies that uh, you're going to have challenges every day. Um, and, hopefully there's a sense of evolution, but I think especially as I get older, and I had lunch with a friend who's starting to uh, degenerate cognitively. You know, it's like, no, it could get worse. Like, don't necessarily expect everything to keep getting better. And I mean, I feel like I'm like that, the that Mr. Downer, always bringing the bad news to people or something. But I'm smiling as I say this, right? That's the problem isn't that life is difficult. The problem is that we can't accept that. When we accept that and work with it and develop resilience and learn to be joyful in with all the joy, you know, uh, then yeah, the challenges are just life. And and well, anyway, now I'm doing some good rambling, so I feel much better. Feel more like myself. Jeff, so nice to see you. I was thinking about you. For some
Definitely
reason, there was
thoughts,
something I was
but
hoping you were
make
gonna
sure.
be at.
Um,
Forget what it was.
hello. Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, did you lower my hand?
Yeah, I did. I lowered your
Okay, right
hands.
on.
Yeah.
So I I struggle a little bit with that concept of like wiping away, the bad conditioning to reveal the pure whatever self. Um, and I wanted to ask if you think it's dangerous. Like I don't think that we're at our core. I wonder if this is a dangerous supposition that like we're that that both the good stuff needs to be conditioned just like I um nurtured, the bad wolf for so long. Or what is it? Is it the bad and the good wolf, or
Yeah.
I forget the parable, but um like I don't know if I believe if I hold true that concept of like if I wipe away, pick away of that stuff, that there's this pure enlightenment or whatever on the inside. I feel really strongly that I need to condition that
Mhm.
good side and feed that good side as opposed to revealing something. Do you feel like that's um a dangerous thought, or can I hold both kind of thing?
No, I think you can hold both. I think that both are part of the process. The 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 sort of clearing away the, let's say, the unwholesome, to use like a really Buddhist-y word, to reveal the wholesome, is that's the experience that you know you can often have on a meditation retreat where you're just meditating, and yeah, I mean, you are cultivating things. You're cultivating your concentration, your mindfulness, you're practicing sila, so there's definitely cultivation happening. But there's this sense, I mean, it's how it's felt to me, and how I've heard it talked about. There is this sense that, and the Buddha talks about this too, that as the hindrances fade away, there is this kind of luminous, awake mind. So there is that, but that definitely doesn't mean that there isn't like a cultivating, because we're cultivating loving kindness. It's very intentional that we are, because you could try to clear your mind like that so that you could shoot somebody more with more, concentration. I'm very focused. I'm not worrying about anything else. I see them in the sights, bang, so there's definitely that right intention behind it, which is a cultivation, as you say. I think it's a pairing. There's the just, and really, in a way, it's just language, because if you're sitting down to meditate, that's cultivating already, like, so you're cultivating clarity, Well,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
but I guess the Buddhist principle, one of the thing that comes out of Tibetan is that there is this basic goodness, is one of the phrases, right? Or the Buddha nature, which is a term I don't really uh, lean on too much, but that is a Buddhist principle that is kind of the reverse of original sin, that our original mind is pure. Uh, you know, I don't think it matters what we think. I don't think it's going to change reality, although it matters in terms of how we behave.
Yeah.
Ha- have you been on like a 10-day silent retreat?
Haven't done anything in a couple of years, but
Yeah,
no, I've only done the 5-day.
yeah. You should
Like,
go on a longer retreat.
okay.
I think you get a much better taste of that. It's one of the problems with my retreats, that they're not long enough for people to get really concentrated on that level where you kind of get like, whoa, this is different,
Right on.
Um, but
Yeah.
that's how that is.
Thanks.
Thanks for bringing that up. It's a good sort of investigation. Yeah. Nice to see you. Hallie, are you raising your hand in the traditional physical manner? Uh, you may certainly unmute yourself and speak if you like.
Am I unmuted now?
Mhm. Yes, you are.
I did not know which button to push,
Mm,
but anyway,
we learn.
thank you. No, that reading of the promises, that's really, really rich material. I've been in different 12-step groups for off and on a long time, 15 or 20 years. And I still grapple with relationships, what to say, what not to say, how to handle things. I'm pretty good on my own, meaning when I'm going about my day and what have you, I can handle my own thoughts and feelings fairly well. Okay.
Mhm.
But then when other people come along and they're just like on a whole different page or wavelength or unloading or doing whatever people do, I still feel myself getting emotionally battered or pulled back and forth. Maybe I don't agree with their point of view. Maybe I don't agree with what they're saying. And so I usually end up just letting it be, as they say. just listening sometimes. But then later, there are other times when I just think, well, that person calls me their friend. You know, they're always saying, oh, you're my friend and I want to see you. And I miss you as a friend, you know. And then I'm thinking, am I being a real friend by just pretending and not saying my part, my view, you know? So when they say intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us, I kind of have to laugh sometimes, because sometimes I think, yeah, sometimes everything flows smoothly. I know how to handle it. And then I'm thinking other times, give me a break. I kind of, you know, in the past, my inclination was to speak my mind and always speak up and everything. I realized, no, I spoke way too much. I needed to chill out. I needed to give people their space. And, you know, and like they say with the wisdom to know the difference, I think that's really the biggest thing I've learned, but I don't always practice it. But it came up for me today. I realized it was kind of coming up for me today. So anyway, I'm glad I came on and all of that.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I wonder if it's, you know, if people have talked about, is it, as so many of us have been isolated during this time, if it's made it a little harder to get back into like relationships and maybe questioning, like you said, like, is this person my friend? Like what, why, you know, because you know how we wind up in a certain circle of people can be pretty random, you know, just through a job or some, you know, whatever, friend of a friend, and or some activity we do and they do the same activity. Like, I play golf and there's a lot of annoying golfers, you know. I do not, but the good thing about that is you spend 4 hours with them and then you don't have to see them again. Now, I can sympathize with the, you know, with that challenge. Hmm. You know, before we go, and maybe there will be another comment, I want to review some of the things that dear Angela has put into the chat. Among them, that I am supported, this class is supported by your donations. So there's information about how to either Venmo or PayPal a little donation to me. I shouldn't say a little donation. There's no limit. You can make it as large as you want. Someone once asked me, well, you know, because Donna, you know, the donations are, you know, can be very stressful for people around a retreat. Like you've been on a week-long retreat and all of a sudden now you have to think about money and I'm supposed to get, how much should I give, you know? And is there like a suggested amount? And I have taken to saying, yes, the suggested amount is $10,000, but if you can't afford that, anything up to that is fine. So, but I don't know. I don't know if that's, you know, maybe freak people out, but what else? Oh, you put in something about this book. That's great. Oh, and then we have a contact list for this group. So that's something I want people to notice, that if you want to, you know, be in touch with other people from the group, you can do that. And then that I have a retreat coming up in North Carolina over the week before and ending on Labor Day, 5-day retreat. And there's a link there to that. It doesn't start to register until July 1, but that will probably fill up very quickly. So if you're interested in it, you should probably go to that link on the 1st of July. So Miriam, hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Yeah, I'll make it short. I know we're close to time, but you know, I was just thinking when you were saying about the intuition, and I'm thinking about like why the mindfulness works. Like, what is it what happens? And then I was thinking about how somehow it stops my story. You know, like whatever story it is that I have going on in my head, like is I stop the thoughts. So then the story has to stop. And then when the story stops, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like that's not happening right now. Like this whole story thing's not going on where I'm sitting here right now. And then this other thing that kept popping, I just want to say it because it's so beautiful. It's the Change Me prayers. I don't know if people know about them, but it's divine, change me to be exactly who you need me to be as I am in this moment. And there's something about that too that just pulls me completely out of storyland. It's like, oh no, I'm in this moment, and who do I need to be if I were to be, I guess, skillful, in those terms. So anyway, I guess I just wanted to say that because that was what's running
Yeah.
through my mind.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's really lovely. And, I'm just sort of thinking about how the world is changing, as it always is, but specifically that, as we become more active and go back out into the world more, um, and as I said, I've been doing this class since March of last year, and it's not so much the class, but it's the showing up and being together and practicing meditation together that feels really important. And so I'm, I guess, glad. I don't know if I go so far as to say grateful, but sort of grateful that I am grateful that this uh, opportunity to do this has been, arose, and that sort of showed me and maybe us, that we could have sort of a consistent contact without it being, something that required going somewhere and having a facility and schedules and all those things, and that it's been very, um, supportive uh, in a really difficult time, and all times are difficult in one way or another. So, uh, I don't, um, even though, in my mind, I keep thinking, well, I should take a break or I should stop or something. I can't really, I don't really have any reason to. So, um, so yeah, but going back to kind of to what Joe said, starting out, that necessity or need to just keep practicing, keep showing up for ourselves, keep showing up for each other. Uh, and and yeah, there is change, and there is unfolding. It's always really tricky to really try to point your finger at exactly, well, how have I changed, or how, uh, does this really work, kind of thing. But besides the obvious sort of benefit in terms of our daily lives, just cleaning the lens, cleaning the windshield each day, but that something else is happening, something more uh, fundamental, sort of what getting at those underlying what the Buddha calls underlying tendencies, the things that really need to be uprooted. Um, so so growth is happening, and we are doing it together. And so I appreciate you guys um, being part of this. And we will continue. I will be back here on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time. I don't think I have anything else coming up this week. I'm speaking at some kind of AA meeting on this Sunday morning, but I don't. Let me see if I have. I might be able to see if I have like a Zoom link or something. It's called Emotional Sobriety Secular AA Meeting. Boy, I don't see a link. So, but that's what it's called. And it's a guy named John Runyon. So if you're interested in hearing I guess it's going to be me telling my story. That's funny. Runyon, emotional sobriety. And if that's not enough, just and you're interested, email me and I'll help you out. I'll find the link, the Zoom. There's my email address. All right, friends. Thank you very much.